Department's tweets attacking the Russia investigation, the Justice Department, and the news media. And that's where we start this morning. Joining me now is Aaron Delmore, senior political correspondent for Bustle.com, and MSNBC legal analyst Katie Fang. Thank you for being here. Let me ask you, Aaron, what do you feel in the midst of all of this? Labor Day usually, as I said, is last stretch. Big elections in this midterm, and we are, unlike any other Labor Day weekend, dealing with, will the Mueller investigation release some bombshell? Will there be something that goes down in these trade battles, negotiations, NAFTA? The president disinvited from a senior Republican statesman's funeral, as well as not having to deal with so many other issues. This is a different kind of Labor Day kickoff for the midterms than we've probably seen in our lifetime, certainly, and certainly in American history.
Rev, you're right. This is no quiet Labor Day weekend, not for Americans, not for reporters. We might not see a quiet Labor Day weekend until President Trump is out of office. This White House thrives on changing up the story. President Trump loves taking to his Twitter feed in the morning to reset the agenda, and there's no shortage of things for him to talk about. He can parachute himself into any midterm battle, House or Senate, change the race like that by swarming reporters and people all over the story. We have these trade battles you mentioned. We have the Mueller investigation. They're facing a September 7th deadline, according to a Justice Department guideline, to get their findings out, or they're within that 60-day window of the midterm. So there's not going to be a lot of quiet now.
Let me pick up on that, Katie. The September 7th deadline, according to Justice, September 1st, I think, according to Rudy Giuliani, deadline, we haven't seen any way, shape, or form that they're going to be ready for the 7th. But who knows? They could come with something. They clearly didn't make the Giuliani deadline. And it looks as though the White House counsel, McGahn, who we learned 2 weeks ago had spent 30 hours being interviewed by the Mueller investigators, was dismissed, or at least announced to be dismissed by Twitter. It wasn't even told personally. What does all of this mean in terms of the legal standing of the president in terms of these investigations?
So the September 1st deadline that you mentioned by Rudy Giuliani is not the first time that we've had legal fictions created by Rudy Giuliani. There is no hard and fast deadline. As Aaron mentioned, it's a 60-day guideline. It's actually not even written down anywhere. It's a Department of Justice concept that's been around for years, where it's an unwritten agreement that, so as to not seem like you're suggesting or influencing the outcome of an election, that you will not, as a part of DOJ, release any indictments or any type of damaging information. You know, we really have to look at the person who's behind the investigation and who's quarterbacking it, and that's Robert Mueller. And I don't think that he's going to be moving with any more expedited sense of urgency. I don't see him racing to, achieve a goalpost goal of filing something by September 7th. I think you probably will see another indictment, though. For example, Roger Stone, he's imminently going to be indicted. And so I think you're going to see a little bit of activity, but it may not be on a huge level. But Robert Mueller is very respectful of traditions and principles. So if you don't see activity in the 60 days before the midterms, that does not mean that there's nothing there, because that's exactly what Trump and his surrogates want you to believe.
Aaron, that's the point. Whether there is any further revelations or not, clearly there's probably going to be some more proceedings, indictments. But this will be a central theme in most of the midterm elections. You saw Andrew Gillum, a progressive African-American candidate, win the Florida primary against traditional candidates. So there seems to be a rise among those that are progressive. But what will that mean in the general? Will we now see in Florida, in Georgia, in states all over the country, it is who could get the right-wing crowd out on the right, left-wing crowd out on the left? Will they go centrist? And even in the center, They've got to deal with whether there was Russian investigation and whether the president of the United States was in any way in collusion with that.
Rev, here's what I'm looking at. That 60% disapproval for President Trump
Right.
in the recent Washington Post poll. Dig into that a little bit further, and you'll see that 2/3 of independents think that Mueller is correct to have an investigation here on the
2/3.
President's Act. 2/3.
And no one could win without the independents or a sizable portion.
Need the independents because President Trump has his base. They're solid. They're with him